stole his car and killed his dog. The result was this, and this, and loads of this. A surprise hit with cinemagoers and at the box office, John Wick's blend of super choreographed gunplay and Keanu Reeves' charisma has so far spawned 2 cinematic sequels and now a video game.
All of this for what? Because of a puppy?
Wasn't just a puppy.
Sharp suits, gun fu, and Keanu Reeves. These movies are ripe for video game adaptation, but John Wick Hex is not at all what a lot of people are expecting. Hex translates the movie's fast-paced combat into a top-down strategy game. Confounding the expectations of many, it's the brainchild of indie video games auteur Mike Bithell. BAFTA Games Award-winning Biffle is most famous for Thomas Was Alone, Volume, and Subsurface Circuit.
We've decided to focus on the tactical, strategic elements of the franchise. When I'm watching John Wick, I'm enjoying it as an action movie, but I'm also enjoying that kind of stunt choreography, the amazing ballet and dance of the whole thing. So we decided to make a game that was focused on that, on the kind of decision-making that happens in those action scenes, on the logic and internal rules of that universe, which are obviously great for a video game.
Why not just make a noisy first-person shooter or a third-person action game with some sort of bullet time mechanic?
That's a logical way of doing it. I think the main honest answer to that is there's a lot of those games. There's a lot of third-person shooters and first-person shooters. And I think the thing that, to me, stands out about John Wick compared to all other action movies is the level of thought and precision and kind of logic to its fight scenes. And that, to me, seemed like something that was much more interesting to explore in a game than just kind of wrapping up a more conventional shooter in the kind of John Wick skin.
There's a fluidity to the action in the John Wick movies. They've been described as bullet ballets and gun fu. How is that realised in the game?
It's tough. Well, we had to invent new ways of doing that. We had a very early version of the game that was more like a kind of a turn-based game, like chess, like XCOM, that kind of thing. And it was very stop-start. So you'd take a turn, they'd take a turn. And I remember going over for one of my meetings in Hollywood, sitting in the big Hollywood conference room with the executives and showing them this version of the game. And Jason Constantine, who's Mr. John Wick at Lionsgate, he kind of watches the demo very politely and then asks, like, why is John waiting his turn? John Wick doesn't just stand there while people come at him. He would be doing stuff. And I've got to give him credit. He in that moment then said, "Of course, you're the game designer. You understand, and I'm just throwing it out there as something that I noticed, but I trust you guys completely. Go for what you want to do." And then, of course, that's the worst thing you could have said, because then on the plane home, I was like, this is the worst idea I've ever had. I've ruined this whole thing. So we ended up building this idea of timeline strategy, which is where it's kind of like video editing. Every move you do kind of slots in and kind of interacts with the enemies you're fighting against. So everything's overlapping, so John never stands still.
And in the same way actors are often boot-camped to train for a part, Bithell trained with the stunt team that worked on the films to get a flavour of what it means to work it like Wick.
We had to talk to the stunt team. We had to talk to the folks who put that stuff together and kind of figure out how to make a game that was stunt choreography. And that's where the fluidity comes from, is because you start talking to these guys about how they literally construct a fight scene. It's not just let's put 2 guys in a room and have them punch each other. There's a flow to it, there's a shape to it, there's a story that's being told through the fight. And kind of working out how to put those tools into players' hands was fascinating. And then actually getting to take that to the stunt team and kind of show them where we were at with it, and them saying, "Oh, you could use this to block out a scene." It's like, yes, you could. That's exactly what we're going for.
Good.
Yes! But for me, the 2 most important questions revolve around Wick's fondness for cute canines and his penchant for using stationery with deadly force.
I once saw him kill 3 men in a bar with a pencil.
So the dog question, there are no dogs. This is a prequel. And this is the kind of conversation you have late at night about John Wick when you're working on it, which is like, the dog in John Wick is so important for reasons that are obvious to anyone who's watched the film. Like, does that movie work if, as a prequel, we establish that John Wick has been a dog owner for some years? Like, if this is like his 5th dog. The pencil thing's similarly an interesting question. We don't have a pencil in the game that you can use. I think if you in the game have used 20 pencils to take out 50 guys, it's no longer as impressive when people are talking in hushed tones about what John Wick's done in that kind of mysterious story.
Theatrics. I always did enjoy a little theatre.